Big question here on Morning Kick Round. Before we get into it, cheers, Todd, our latest and newest member of MK Ultras. Cheers for becoming a member. Final segment of the week, the big question. There was an image of Inter Miami's head coach Javier Mascherano that kind of went, I guess, American soccer viral of him in the second half after getting sent off in the League's Cup match midweek. And not only to appear in the front row of the stands right behind the team bench and then clearly communicating to his assistants on the bench via cell phone, not really trying to hide it. There's a lot of funny images of, coaches trying to still coach after they've been sent off. But I was going to say, Javier Mascherano, very new in his coaching career. And it kind of speaks to what Inter Miami is becoming in general. This was funny that they're like, who's he talking to? And the director cuts straight to the assistant holding the phone on speaker right there. But is Javier Mascherano becoming a villain as a coach? This behavior here, right here, definitely doesn't seem like he's trying to follow the rules. Like subsequently after this broadcast, apparently Leagues Cup, this is like an authorized place for a coach to be after a send-off. But you got to feel like a red card to a coach. This isn't much of a punishment right here. I mean, he's literally right behind the bench, barking directions. He's so close. I'm surprised he even needs a cell phone to communicate there. But villain, Javier Mascherano, I liked him as a player, but early in his coaching career, I mean, I don't think this is his first red card. He's definitely had some emotional outbursts on the sideline for Miami and just kind of how the superstars have come in and how Inter Miami is becoming like the Argentinian outpost in MLS. Is Mascherano becoming the villain, Jason?
I want to address the actual incident before we talk about this villainy question. Right? And I think we've already broached this. I think American soccer has kind of become kind of enamored with the idea that Inter Miami are the bad guys. If you're not a Miami fan, and again, it's very easy to hang that label of plastic or counterfeit or front runners or glory hunters or just Messi fans on Inter Miami fans, and then just toss them all out the window and say, well, they don't count, they don't matter, they're not the same as us, we're different from them. I think that is an interesting development here. Mascherano doing this, I mean, does add to that dossier of their villains, I suppose. I think, in the grand history, the grand tradition of coaches and managers being sent off and then trying to surreptitiously stay involved in the game. And we have a recent example of this actually with Jesse Marsch being sent off for Canada, or maybe he was suspended and he had the whole thing in the room and he was in the wrong room and he's yelling at people and all this stuff. And I saw this discussion happening when this thing with Mascherano was going down. Like, it is so obvious what he's doing.
Not even trying to pretend. There's pretending in history on these sort of incidents, but there's no guide in that. And I was watching this, is like, how do the people sitting around him, are they enjoying their experience of watching the game if the coach is just like screaming at the team in front? It's a unique experience, no doubt.
You can see a guy down there taking video of Mascherano on the phone. There's like a row back of Mascherano. He's taking video of that. Okay, so again, it's the blatantness of this, right? It's the I'm not even pretending to follow whatever rules might be in place. We've got a grand history of this, so I kind of want to get to some of that as well. Here is Miguel Herrera. I believe this was a CONCACAF Champions League match at the time when he was coaching Club America. You can see the badge. He loves a blazer with a badge. Does Hector Herrera? He's got the walk. I'm sorry, Miguel Herrera. He's got the walkie-talkie out. He was clearly communicating with his bench via a communication device, a different one. There's also I don't have a shot of this, and you can see I guess I'll go back to this one. You can see the assistant there in front of Mascherano. I'm assuming that's who that is. The Miami assistant. He's got the phone. Like, okay, here's
the commentary literally says, I wonder who he's talking to, and the director cuts straight over to the assistant on the field holding the phone in his hand as well. So that was some comedic direction.
They're separated by like 8 feet. Like, they're barely is it just because it's loud in the building, and so Javier has to like?
There's a little bit of height because there's that he's kind of on a balcony. Oh, here's he
should have gone Bobby Valentine. Like, he should have gone full on. The thing about Bobby, everybody talks about the mustache. First of all, pretty sure he just threw on like a t-shirt because I don't think that's the actual jersey, right? That he went and changed into team gear that is not the official uniform of the New York Mets, who he was managing at the time. He puts on the fake mustache. And what is that hat? That's not a Mets hat. That's some other. He grabbed somebody's hat that was like maybe working in the
It's like the plumber's hat or something.
Yeah, I think there's that. Man, I don't know. Is Inter Miami, are there shenanigans? Is the money that they spend, is getting Rodrigo de Paul in? And I think there was some thought that they were going to get another move done before the window, which, by the way, just because something wasn't public last night doesn't mean it didn't get in and we won't hear about it later.
And I feel like there's always going to be some loopholes. Like, well, he wasn't in this sort of a listing and this sort of a listing. So even though the window's closed, he was still allowed to sign. I feel like that happens every time.
Again, this one could be that the paperwork is submitted. We just didn't hear about it. It wasn't publicized. So as long as U.S. Soccer has received the transfer certificate and all that stuff, then they can still do it. So maybe Miami is going to sign another player and everybody accuse them of cheating the rules. But here's what the Athletic had on this story about Mascherano being on the bench during the Leagues Cup. Remember, this is the Leagues Cup. It's not Major League Soccer. So it's a different competition. Now, there's obviously massive overlap in sort of how these two things operate, but the Leagues Cup is different. And what the Athletic has is that when contacted by the Athletic, a Leagues Cup spokesperson said the Inter Miami head coach was located in a space designated according to tournament regulations. By the way, how do you put that space that close to the bench? That's number one. Number two, cell phone communications are not prohibited per Leagues Cup regulations in this instance. Why not? Why not? If you've been sent off, you're not supposed to be able to coach your team. Why would it be okay for you to jump on your cell phone and do one of these things where you're yelling into the microphone just to make sure you're heard on the other end?
Yeah. Most every other competition, you have to be in the locker room or up in a private suite or somewhere like definitely distance. But this isn't much of a punishment. I'm glad, Mike, tip of the hat to you for pointing this out. One of my favorite American soccer moments, Chalise popping up in the stands at Las Vegas Lights, smoking a cigarette with the fans after getting sent off. One of my all-time favorites in the very early history of Las Vegas Lights. That was an all-time moment. But I got to say, outside of Javier Mascherano, I think I wasn't quite on the bandwagon of Inter Miami being the bad guys until DePaul came on board. I think someone in the comments said it's just turning into a messy wedding list at this point with DePaul adding in. And I got to say, outside of the group of Argentine superstars, I'd say Segovia is starting to bother me. Just the way he plays, and especially without Messi, like his manner of playing.
You're just looking for reasons. You're just looking for reasons not to like them now. You're manufacturing.
I was affable, but now I'm falling into that camp.
You were what?
I was like affable, like whatever.
That's not what affable means. That's not what.
Oh, explain it. All right, stop.
Affable's like friendly, like a likable person. If you're
affable,
it
didn't bother me. They didn't bother me.
In that context, that's not what affable means. But I understand what you're trying to say. This is Chalise, by the way, in the stands. Grabbed this from the MLS website. I guess that was a preseason game he got sent off in.
It was hilarious, absolutely hilarious, and it was another awesome cutaway of like. So it looks like somebody spotted Chalise in the stands, and it was him literally smoking a heater in the front row in Las Vegas.
You were ambivalent about Inter Miami.
And
now you're not ambivalent anymore. You've been pushed towards the hater side. You have lined up with the haters. You have thrown in your lot with the haters. I still like them. And here's why. It's not that I'm not a fan. I'm not rooting for them to do things. But I have always been somebody who wants American soccer to matter more. And I certainly want there to be.
I'm not saying it's not interesting.
That's what I'm saying. It's interesting. So I can't get myself to that place of being offended by them, quote unquote, playing by their own set of rules. Right? It didn't bother me that the Galaxy were being accused of all that back in the day. It doesn't bother me now because without people pushing the rules, without people being willing to break the rules, nothing will change. Everybody will accept the status quo and will just continue on this path and it'll be boring. Be less boring. Inter Miami makes American soccer less boring. Jorge Mas makes American soccer less boring. Lionel Messi, Javier Mascherano, Sergio Busquets is a kind of a boring guy. But the rest of them, they make American soccer less boring. And when they open their stadium, which they're supposed to do next year, it'll be interesting to see how that changes perceptions of Inter Miami in their own building, in the city of Miami. Yeah, to the west side, but still in the city of Miami. And I saw in the Slack for the Best Soccer Show where the besties hang out that they've sold 10,000 season tickets for next year or something, and they're crowing about this. And like, does that feel like a big number when you've got Lionel Messi on your side? Like, I don't know if that feels like a big number. I mean, I don't know what their limits are. I don't know what they're trying to limit it to, but it's going to be more than that. And again, this place is called, if you just want extra reasons, maybe to feel certain ways about Jorge Mas, about Inter Miami, they're going to call that place Freedom Park in Miami, Rob, because of the Cuban history of Jorge Mas's family and his belief in the Jorge Mas and the Mas family are very much anti-Castro Cubans, right? Cubans who left Cuba because of the revolution. They are, their politics can rub people the wrong way, is all I'm going to say about that.
That's definitely notable. And this position that Inter Miami is in, it definitely gives MLS folks someone else to point the finger out about being the kind of the evil empire, because LA Galaxy isn't necessarily occupying the space at this point, at least this season they're not. So it gives another team for other fan groups to rally against. And while it is good, a necessary evil, something to revel in, but also doesn't necessarily cement with the way that they're kind of, at least on appearances, playing their own way with the rules. It doesn't necessarily cement MLS's legitimacy with how they're able to kind of sidestep things and kind of skirt rules and whatnot.
I guess I just don't see it that way. MLS has been a league of change from the very beginning. The rules constantly shift. You don't know what they're going to be from one year to the next. We're talking about MLS 3.0 and all that stuff and what that's going to bring. And for me, it's like, okay, is Inter Miami quote unquote breaking the rules? Sure. But are the rules kind of dumb to begin with? Absolutely. So what are we doing here? Why are we getting all worked up? Now, I understand that it's supposed to be fairness and supposed to be parity, and it's not, they shouldn't have an advantage and all those things. But man, I guess I just think that we are still so unwilling to be risky, and MLS has been so unwilling to take steps forward, that unless they are dragged into it by things like this, by clubs like Inter Miami, we won't get there. So more power to them if they want to break the rules. Now, if MLS punishes them, I also have a problem with that. If you broke the rules and you get caught, you get punished. That's how this works. But as long as there's somebody sort of willing to rock the boat, that is, I think, is a net positive for American soccer.
No doubt. I think that brings us to the end of this week's editions of Morning Kickaround. Thank you to everyone who has jumped in the chat. Tip of the hat to MK Ultra of the Week, Brad in Memphis. Thank you for being on board with MK Ultras, and thank you, Todd, becoming a member in the show today. So thank you for all the support. Hit subscribe, become an MK Ultra. Hit us up on social media. Support us on coffee.com/morningkickaround if you'd like to as well. Thank you to everyone who has supported this show and is considering doing so. And if nothing else, if you don't want to throw money or button clicks our way, tell your friend about the show that you enjoy. Anything else, Mr. Davis?
No, that you're wrapping us up. I'm good to go. Thank you very much. Happy Friday. Enjoy your soccer. Have a great weekend.
All right, guys. See you on Monday.